family. We spoke about having a generous life as we studied Philippians 2, and in particular the section where Paul puts forward the CVs of two godly men who reflected generous character and generous nature as they served Christ and as they served others. And for our Connect group this week, I want you to look at those two examples and discuss what Timothy as a full-time minister and Epaphroditus as an elder or a faithful member of the church in Philippi did, and how they lived their lives in a way to reflect the glory of Christ and his generous nature to us as mankind. When Paul writes, it's more than just the travel plans of two individuals that he's sending back to Philippi as he sits in prison in Rome. He encourages us to look at the characteristics of these men. The first characteristic that he highlights is of their genuine care for other people. And I want you in your Connect group to reflect on your level of genuine care for other people around you. And the point about caring for people is that often the standard that God sets for us is to care even when we face pushback, even when people don't treat us fairly, but to continue serving them and caring for them. That's what it means to be generous in your care with others. The second characteristic I want you to discuss is that of being of excellent character. Paul gives us the examples of why these two men were deemed to be of excellent character. And I want you to discuss the character traits of these two men and what made them so special and why it was their character more than their acts of serving or giving that really became a blessing to other people and especially to Paul. The third part that I want you to discuss is the characteristic where Paul writes that both of them were prepared to suffer for the sake of the gospel. We read about Epaphroditus who, despite becoming ill on his journey, he was prepared to continue with that journey and actually risk his life to go and care for Paul. And that's an amazing level of sacrifice. And whilst we don't read about it in this chapter, we know from history that Timothy as well, at the age of 80, was prepared to preach the gospel where eventually it cost him his life, where he was stoned to death when he tried to hold a procession in honor of the goddess Diana. And I want you to discuss as a Connect group whether you are prepared to make that level of sacrifice for the sake of the gospel. Were you prepared to give at the level where it would cost you your life? Lastly, I want you to discuss in your Connect group what I've shared as the root word about generosity, that it comes from the Latin term that means to be of noble birth. And therefore that being generous refers more to the nature of being magnanimous and being gracious and caring for others more than it refers to the act of giving. And I want to challenge you to discuss in your Connect groups practical examples of how you can be noble in character, noble in your level of generosity, but to then also make it practical and to discuss how generosity and what generosity looks like in your life and in your care for other people. God bless you as you look at the CVs of these two men and reflect what we can learn from them about having a generous life.